for non-engineering roles. They're usually looking for some level of technical aptitude, and so I'm just curious what your advice is as to some important general skills, whether it's knowing certain tools like SQL, or being able to talk to engineers, or knowing how apps work, or just to kind of understand what would be good to know.
Oh, you can talk. I think you can't.
Yeah, I mean, again, I think, this is, if you're not technical, going into a product role at a company that's highly technically driven is probably not going to be a fit. It's like, where do you innately understand the product? I mean, pick up the basic product skills and all these types of things, but I think understanding where you're likely to drive success until you learn the product discipline, and then you might be able to say, okay, now I understand product and the end market, I can take on something, more of a technology challenge or whatever. I think, when I look at hiring, I tend to under-hire on experience and over-hire on aptitude and passion and those types of things. And then people grow into the roles. And so I look for people who have done 75% of the job before. And they're going to grow into that last piece. If someone's done 100% of the job, there's no place for them to grow, and they're either going to get bored or they're going to plateau from a career standpoint. And so you want people who are going to stretch into each role, and you wouldn't want someone who would accept a role where they don't have to stretch, right? And so, it's understanding what sort of shortcomings you have and being strong enough in the other areas that you can learn that piece and then choosing a new challenge that's there. But if you are completely blind to an end market and the product function or a technical function or whatever, any one of those you can overcome, but not too many of them. And so finding enough of a fit, I think that's that's sort of matched to you is more important than any one answer on these types of things. I mean, my guys laugh at me when I, you try to translate what they're doing, at the most technical level. But they know that I understand it from an end market standpoint and what the functionality and the limitations of the technology and those types of things. I don't have to code or know all the, sort of nuances of what they're doing. They can't do my job, and I'm not trying to do theirs.
I like that. I think the point you said about the reverse engineering that a lot of people are trying to do because tech is hot or that sector is hot, they're just setting themselves up for failure on a lot of levels. I think if you're trying to go into tech and you're getting a lot of questions around some, how do you SQL or something like that, I mean, and you don't want to just there's a lot of resources online, totally free, to learn kind of the basics of how it works, even from a framework perspective, to think about it. You need to think why you actually want to go into tech, because that's part of what you're doing. But I really think that the people who, we had 15 people that we hired. We ended up getting 1,300 applications. And we tried recruiting before, kind of like everyone else did, and ran into problems like everyone else did. And then we started thinking of it more as like a tribe. Like, not everyone's going to get it. We should have people who don't like it. We should have people that absolutely fall in love with it. And the people who got it, got passionate about the product, fell in love with it, were also very genuine, and we do vetting around it about who they were and having a very steep learning curve so that they wouldn't plateau, they wouldn't get bored, and that they're hungry and driven to go and do that. They want to storm that beach type thing. So I think you want to listen and think about why you want to make that extra move. It's hard to filter out all the noise, especially at a place like Stanford. And definitely be curious about these other aspects of the business, but don't feel obligated to be a master of it, so to speak.
I'll take a counterpoint from it. I think there's way too much made about sort of tech, non-tech. I would stand up a lot of folks in this room. If you're here, it means you've demonstrated a level of accomplishment that many companies would be willing to bet on. In a technical, maybe they're not going to give you like the Nginx coding job that's writing the kernel for the edge servers at our company. Maybe not. Like, if you really want that job, we'll consider you. but that's probably not what you're drawn to anyway. But I think that this concept of I want a tech job or a non-tech job, if you believe, that if you believe sort of large trends, everything is being reimagined with technical, sort of from a technical foundation. If true, then all jobs are somewhat technically related. I bet on anybody in this room to be able to pick up a technical job, and that's, maybe not the Nginx job that I described, but a solutions engineer, I bet you could do it. Do you want to learn how the internet really works? I bet you could learn it. And I can point to people that have been successful over the course of my career, people that I've worked with, and my single best example is actually a Stanford grad. She played soccer here. She has never failed anything in her life. And, well, at least publicly, maybe she's failed things we don't know about. But you give her a challenge, and she will get it done every time. And she just sort of consumes that goal. Like, I'm going to get this done. And if you take that perspective, I don't think there's some technical hurdle that stands in the way. Maybe it just take a little longer to get there if you want to be that Nginx kernel developer who comes soon afterwards.
Any others? Yeah, John, you looked interested.
Yeah, I would just agree with that. I think oftentimes people try and solve for every technical skill that you might need in every single job. And so really knowing what you want to go after and what is necessary to do that is really great knowledge for you to have, to really identify like, what are the roles that I want, what do I really need to do in that role, and then being honest in the application process around it. If someone comes to me and sort of tries to fake into doing something that I know they can't do, as opposed to your point, someone comes in and says, I know this is what I want, I know this is what I'm going after, I know that I'm going to have to learn these things to do it, and here are examples of where I've learned things in other areas when I didn't know it. That's much more powerful to me than, claiming that you've got like some sort of minimal requirement there. To Chris's point, like, we want people to learn in their roles to develop those skill sets, and you're not going to be able to solve for every technical skill you'll need in a role beforehand, I don't think.
Well, thank you all so much. Michael's going to come up now and tell us what's next, but first let's just give our panel a big round of applause.